Little Red Riding Hood. The time-old tale of a girl who blatantly disregards her mother's only instructions, just so she can avoid going to visit her grandmother's house. Then again, when you look at her grandmother's house like this, you can see why she'd be slightly intimidated. Of course, while wandering aimlessly through these woods, she stumbles upon the big bad wolf. And this game takes great pride in taking that story to a whole new level. You play as any one of 6 girls, each modeled after Little Red Riding Hood. These characters range from a toddler just out of diapers to a well-trained prostitute. Each girl respectively must make the journey to grandmother's house, facing their own wolf on the way. Do not go into this game expecting to get a survival horror experience. You will be sorely disappointed. The game is designed to unnerve you, but it does this through its music, sound effects, and attention to detail, making this indie game much more of a piece of artwork. As such, each girl has her own distinct personality, which often is expressed through what she finds in the forest, but also through an occasional blurb of text that appears on the side to express one of her thoughts. Isn't that a nice sentiment? This game is different, way different, and is an oddball even on this list. I'm not sure if you can even really call this an RPG, but I don't know what else to call it. So please, enjoy the trip to Grandma's. But remember, stay on the path.
It is not simply a warping of the mind. It physically distorts the body as well. A world where these twisted beings roam the wastelands is born from the gigantic disaster known as the Blaze. People cling to their own baroques and live on.
Here's another weird one for you. Baroque. Strange enough imagery, but you've got to admit it has a pretty badass theme song. Baroque takes place in a strange post-apocalyptic world. A world in which what few humans are left are known as baroques. And this game, of course, has a sort of Baroque versus monster type of feeling. But enough of the badass music. Meet your character.
It seems you have difficulty speaking. Well, even though you are flawed, you are fortunate to even be in this shape. Is your memory damaged as well?
That's right, another stereotypical anime boy who can't seem to remember a thing about his past. But despite that, we do get a pretty badass gun. Most of the game takes place in the mysterious Nero Tower.
Can you hear my voice? I hope you can come to where I am soon.
Oh, hi, Mr. Angel Guy. Might have been nice to know that you were telepathic. That aside, whilst in the tower, you meet some pretty interesting characters, including a girl who apparently seems to hate you. Oh, and she also flies, but that's not important.
You tormented my heart. You don't remember?
You know, this conversation might get off to a better start if I knew what the hell was happening.
It was just a game to you?
Not to mention this creepy bugger.
Our last day together, the moment I was killed still haunts me.
Yeah, that's kinda weird. Anyway, when you're not talking to creepy individuals, you spend most of your time fighting creepy monsters and collecting items, in hopes of reaching the floor below you, so you can continue on. The music is still pretty entertaining. But the fact is, you can't play this game for endless hours without getting slightly bored, since you spend basically the entire game inside Neuro Tower. This game isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I find it pretty entertaining and I suggest you give it a shot.
He hasn't given up. He's still manipulating the consciousness orbs to control.
Now once more!
Recorded in his consciousness. The courage to confess it.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am not a fan of the Final Fantasy series. But that doesn't mean I don't like any Square Enix games. This is number 8, Square Enix's Infinite Undiscovery. This is Capel, our protagonist, who was kidnapped because he was believed to be an all-important man named Sigmund. Why capture dear old Sigmund here? Well, Sigmund is the leader of a group trying to stop an organization from tying chains to the moon. See all that shiny armor? That's because he's important. Due to this unfortunate similarity, Capel gets dragged into an epic adventure.
Stop right there! Stick 'em up!
Oh no. Small children is never a good sign.
I'm Rico! I'm Richa!
Nobody
I'm the
cares.
top Beastmaster here! I'm a summoner! No bandits allowed! You better give up now!
Actually, my name is Capel.
Capel?
Don't you get it? It's an alias, stupid! So nobody
Look,
can
they're
tell
even
who
nice
it
to
really
each
is.
other. Anyway, the game is fun, the plot is different to say the least. The graphics are pretty, if that's something you're worried about. And the battle system is nothing to scoff at. Either way, this game comes highly recommended.
Here we are, so far from where we started, from another time, so long ago. Will we ever know why things turned that night, why things burned that night, hearts alone by the shore.
You know, I never liked the introductory music for this game. This is Magna Carta Tears of Blood. Another interesting RPG, if not for its plot, then definitely for its battle system, which is unlike anything I've ever seen. But we'll get to that in a moment. Magna Carta takes place in a fantasy world where there is an order called the Tears of Blood. That's right, the name of the game actually means something. This world is at war currently, with the evil queen. This queen is not human, but rather she is the queen of the Yasen, which are a human-like race, but apparently having very pale skin and pointy ears makes you pitted against the human race. But let's take a look at the battle system. The battle system allows you to go into battle by striking an enemy before it strikes you, allowing you to get the first attack. We call it DDR RPG. But I digress. The battle system is actually a lot of fun, and as you hit more buttons in the correct timing, your attacks will go up. So you'll get a stronger attack the more you do correctly. I believe it goes up to 4, and once you level to the strongest attack, you'll stay on the strongest attack until you make a mistake. And the idea behind the bars on the top is when you can attack, which is affected by how many opponents you or your enemy has on the battlefield at the time, as well as how many allies. So for example, you see how that just went up? That's because you killed one of its allies. An interesting concept. There's not a lot else to say about the game, except that the characters are interesting, even if Callens and one of the other boys looks completely like females. But nonetheless, the plot is pretty basic, but interesting enough to keep you entertained, and the battle system entertains me endlessly. This is Magna Carta: Tears of Blood.
I wanna find it, what I've been searching. The boy reaches out to the sky. He prays to get it, no doubt he'll make it. All of his goals and desires. When you find the sky, simply divine. You're dreaming, leave your worries behind. That's imagination. Can you feel it tonight? The fire inside is burning. All you gotta do is break through to make your wishes all come true. Amazing.
Quite a change from most of the games I've been reviewing. But you know, I never liked this song either. It was way too Disney, poppy, Miley Cyrus-ish. Either way, this is Grandia 3, an RPG that appears to be about planes, but really has very little to do with planes at all, other than the fact that your main character is obsessed with planes and eventually gets one. Then again, he's only sometimes obsessed. Sometimes he just doesn't mention it at all. Then other times, he won't stop talking about it. But that's not what I want to talk about. What keeps me interested in this game is the battle system, like right there, where you can actually use your sword outside of battle to stun your enemies, or to surprise them in battle. The battle system is turn-based, but in some cases you'll need to have timing down. Because if a character criticals after an enemy has been thrown into the air, it can create a pretty powerful aerial hit. Aside from that, you've got both magic and specials to do damage, and you can choose whether you're going to critical or not, though a critical hit only does 1 hit's worth of damage, but can cancel attacks. That's right, you can cancel the enemy's attacks if you do it the right way. Combos are the normal attacks of this game, and they do 2 hits. It's a lot to try to explain all at once, but you get the hang of it pretty quickly.
Feel the bite of my blade! Whirlwind! At this rate, I'll be mobbed to death by fans!
Also, this guy is just too cute. On that note, Grandia 3.